Mega Man 7 was the first and only classic Mega Man game on the SNES. Naturally, we'd be expecting the game to look better, sound better, play better, and have a better story. So, does the game do all that? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about. But before we get started, I've got two things to say. First, I ask that you just scroll down and hit the like and subscribe button. Liking and subscribing gets YouTube to show my videos to more people, and it motivates me to create more videos. Second, this is the 7th video in my Mega Man retrospective. If you haven't seen the first 6, I recommend you go do that, as I'll be going into this video assuming that you have seen my reviews on Mega Man 1 through 6. But with that out of the way, let's begin. Our story starts 6 months after the events of Mega Man 6. Wily was incarcerated, but he had a backup plan. In the event he didn't visit his lab in 6 months, 4 Robot Masters would activate. These Robot Masters then begin to attack the prison to free Wily, so Mega Man sets off. The game starts with Rock and Roll being driven to the prison by Otto, one of Light's assistants. Otto doesn't do much in the story, but I still like him. Rock talks about some enhancements that Light's planning to give him and Rush, but the truck is unable to go any further, so Mega Man travels to Light on foot. But before that, this is actually kinda funny. Anyway, we meet up with Light and Rush, and we see the 4 Robot Masters break Wily out of prison. Wily then shows up and leaves. Alright? We then take control of Mega Man, and his controls have been adapted to the SNES pretty well. He doesn't control as good as he did on the NES, but it's still pretty good. Also, this is the first intro stage in the classic series. The X series also does this, and I think it's a pretty good idea. They serve the story well enough, and they teach you the game mechanics pretty well. The boss of this stage is the Mad Grinder. It's a pretty simple fight. Dodge the giant spinning wheel and move when he does. Simple. It's pretty funny though, the Mad Grinder is shown to be the size of whole buildings in the intro, but in game is only a few feet taller than Mega Man himself, who's 4 feet 4 inches if you were curious. After you defeat him, you run into this black and yellow robot and you have a little scuffle with him. After he takes enough damage, he introduces himself as Bass, and his wolf is Trouble. He's been attempting to take down Wily and his Robot Masters before Mega Man got here, but now that he's witnessed Mega Man's power firsthand, he decides Rock doesn't need their help and leaves. After this, we're thrust into the stage select screen. Already, this game is going bounds ahead of the previous games. Mega Man 2, 4, 5, and 6 all had intro cutscenes, but they were all pretty simple and didn't have much to them. 7 absolutely blows all of them out of the water. One thing that helps with this would be the graphics. Easily, this is the best looking game one so far, and probably the best looking game in the series. Of course, with the added power of the Super Nintendo, you'd naturally expect more detailed and bigger sprites, and that's precisely what we got. Look at Mega Man's sprite from Mega Man 6 and compare it to the one from Mega Man 7. It's night and day. We actually see some shines and shadows on Mega Man for one. He's overall bigger, and we can see his face and eyes in more detail. Previously, his skin tone and eye color were so similar that it's a bit hard to see where his skin stops and where his eyes begin, and that's just not the case here. You can also see the gem inside the Mega Buster. You can see the arm swinging more naturally. Honestly, I probably don't need to go on, you can just see the difference. Back to the gameplay, another shakeup. You only get 4 Robot Masters to start with. I don't know how controversial this change is, but from my perspective, I do like this. Sure, it takes away player freedom, but it does make up for that. Mainly, it ensures a steady difficulty curve. The first 4 stages are somewhat easy, the second 4 are more difficult, and the castle stages are the ultimate test. Previously, all 8 stages needed to be of similar difficulty because any one of them could be someone's first stage. Here, they know for a fact that Shade Man stage, for example, isn't gonna be someone's first stage, so they can make it more difficult. They can also take advantage of your special weapons since they'll know you have them. Although, to be fair, I don't remember them doing that much. They could have done that, but they didn't. Oh well. Another new thing this game adds is the secret shop mechanic. I say secret because the game doesn't tell you about this. Maybe the manual does, but it's 2025. I don't think anyone's gonna go out of their way to find the manual. Anyway, by hitting the select button on the stage select screen, you will be picked up by the Big Eddy, and Otto will sell you things in exchange for the brand new currency, bolts. Enemies drop bolts, and of course you spend them here. You can buy 1-ups, E-tanks, W-tanks, Beats Whistle, and an escape unit. W-tanks are basically just E-tanks, but they refill all your weapon energy. Beats Whistle allows you to call for Beat. Unlike previous games, Beat won't attack enemies. Instead, he'll pick you up from bottomless pits and drop you somewhere safe. I don't recommend getting this though, as you can also get it without purchasing it. And the escape unit allows you to escape a stage if you've already beaten it. And that's not all. Your first time visiting the shop, Otto will tell you that he's quite literally got a screw loose, and you can find the missing screw in Springman stage. Once you find it, all prices will be slashed in half, and some new items will be unlocked. These new items include the S-Can, Rush Jet, Rush Search, and the Energy Equalizer, and the Hyper Rocket Buster. I won't explain what the Hyper Rocket Buster does for the moment, as that requires an explanation of the findable items and stages. The S-Can is an E-tank and W-tank mixed into one, but you can only carry one at a time. Rush Jet is the same as ever. Rush Search is a brand new Rush ability that allows Rush to dig into certain areas and get items. And the Energy Equalizer is an item that transfers collected weapon energy to automatically go to the special weapon with the least amount of energy when you don't have a special weapon selected. And that's about all I've got to say on the shop. Finally, it's time to enter a stage. Overall, these stages are pretty good. Just like Mega Man 6, each stage has a unique and memorable gimmick that isn't infuriating or exceptionally tedious. Burstman stage is an underwater stage, and the water continues to rise and fall while you've got spikes underneath you. The vanish blocks also make an appearance here, and it's nice to see them again. Cloudman stage changes weather randomly shortly into the stage, as it turns from sunny skies to a rainstorm. There's no gameplay change here from what I remember, it just makes it slightly harder to see. The cloud platforms from Airman stage also reappear. Then you get to a section where you can't see the platforms you need to land on until you get close to them, so you've got to just trust the devs decided to place the platforms where people land. I mean, it's fine, I just don't fully trust the designers to not trick me with a set piece like this. I'd probably do it if I were the one designing the stage. You can also meet up with Proto Man, and he shows up and tells you to burn down a forest. Freeze Man stage has these ice platforms that crumble and break if you stand on them for too long. His stage is also the home of the Shiraku Machine GTV, and they're infuriating. Its attacks are fine, but it somehow has more HP than the final boss. Wily Capsule 4 has 28 HP, and the Shiraku Machine has 32 HP, for some reason. But anyway, Junkman stage has some lava in the stage, and you can freeze it using Freeze Cracker to get some collectibles. Slashman stage has the Technodon, and you ride on its back to get past the spikes. You can run through a forest that you can burn down as well. Again, each stage has something unique, memorable, and most of all, fun. But there aren't just gimmicks to interact with in stages. I've been kinda tiptoeing around this, but the collectibles have been massively expanded compared to Mega Man 6. Pretty much everything in the shop can be found in stages. You find the Rush Search and Freeze Man stage, you can find the Rush Jet and Junkman stage, you can find Beat and Slashman stage of burning down a forest, thanks Blues, the Energy Balancer and Shade Man stage, and the Hyper Rocket Buster and Turbo Man stage. There are also some things not in the shop that can be found in the stages, mainly the Rush letters. 4 letters are found within the first 4 stages, and they allow Mega Man to merge with Rush to become Super Mega Man, not to be confused with Super Armor Mega Man. Super Mega Man is a streamlined version of both the Jet Adapter and Power Adapter from Mega Man 6. You can use the jets to fly upwards a short distance, just like the Jet Adapter, but it doesn't need to be charged. You can't throw punches, but in its place, your entire arm detaches from your body and flies across the room. And with the Hyper Rocket Buster, it travels even farther and it homes in on enemies. And I much prefer the Rush letters compared to just randomly getting the adapters after beating a stage in the last game. 6 stages don't give you an adapter, naturally, and the 2 that do feel pretty random. So yeah, I prefer this exploration over randomness, naturally. But that's not all. There's also a secret fight against Proto Man. After meeting up with Proto Man in both Cloud Man and Turbo Man stages, you can fight him in Shade Man stage. He's pretty tough, and after you beat him, he gives you his Proto Shield. When you select the Proto Shield, the shield will, naturally, block all attacks coming ahead of you. But you've got to be standing still for the shield to be in front of you. If you're moving, jumping, shooting, or sliding, the shield will be put to the side and it won't block anything. Overall, it's cool to have, but it doesn't do much. I only pull it out because it's kinda cool. And since I'm talking about all these different items, someone in the audience is probably wondering how many backtracks it takes to get these items. Well, assuming you don't buy all the stuff from the shop, of course. And yeah, I had to backtrack a few times. Off the top of my head, I had to go to Junkman stage twice, since you can't get the Rush Letter and Rush Jet in a single run. I also had to revisit Shademan stage for the Proto Shield, since his stage earlier in my playthrough than Turbo Man stage. Hey, editing Zemshia here. I also had to backtrack to Slashman stage to get Beat, because I didn't want to buy him from the store, and Turbo Man stage is the last in my playthrough, so I needed to go back for Scorch Wheel. And Slashman stage is the 5th in my playthrough, so yeah, I had to go back for that. So that's about 3 backtracks in total, not counting like the 3 times I went to Cloudman stage to grind for bolts. To be perfectly honest though, I don't really mind the backtracking. I agree it's a pain in something like X5, X6, or X7, but that's because the stages themselves are slogs to play through. In Mega Man 7 though, these stages are fun, so backtracks just give me another excuse to go through them. Speaking of the stages, this game introduces a new type of stage, the mid-stage. Basically, in between the first 4 Robot Masters and the second 4, there's another stage that's called the mid-stage. The mid-stage in this game is the Robot Museum, and it's kinda cool. The song is a remix of Gutsman's theme, and you see a bunch of Robot Masters from previous games. Now, I think it's time I tackle the bosses. I do really like these guys. The attacks are simple to dodge, telegraph well, but aren't pushovers. I even made a few of them harder than needed since I kept on sticking to the Super Adapter for nearly every fight. I get a double jump and a homing shot, but I never noticed that a charged Mega Buster shot does more damage than a charged Rocket Arm shot until after I beat the game. However, these bosses are not perfect. Of course, there are the weaknesses, and they make some of these fights pushovers. Look at Slashman's fight, Jockman's fight, Cloudman's fight, Turboman's fight, or Springman's fight. That's 5 Robomasters. That's too many people whose weakness is basically a win button. But I also have a bone to pick with Slashman's fight in particular. Every once in a while he'll go out of view and these orange blobs will drop from the ceiling. They'll drop at random places, meaning you don't know where to dodge, and if one of them falls on you, you can't jump or fire. And you can't get rid of this effect until you take damage. The blobs also leave puddles if they hit the floor, and if you step in one, you can't move at all until you take damage. I just think this is stupid. You can't dodge the blobs falling, it's hard to avoid the puddles in a room as cramped as this, and the punishment is too high. Someone might say, what do you mean the room is too small? Every other boss fight has a room this big. If they wanted to make a bigger boss arena, they most certainly could have, considering the fact they've done so already. But after the bosses, how about the special weapons they give you? Well, I don't know how good they are considering the fact I never used them. The Mega Buster can get rid of most enemies just fine, and once you get the Super Adapter, and especially once you get the Hyper Rocket Buster, everything else is worthless. Why would I want to use all these special weapons when I just home in on a target and most likely one-shot it? Yes, I'm the one choosing to do this, but I'd argue that the designers could have just balanced the weapons better so I have an actual reason to use them. It also doesn't help that a few of them are pretty situational and, as such, not worth using. Mainly Wild Coil and Slash Claw. Slash Claw is a melee attack where Mega Man swipes at an enemy, and I don't see why I'd bother to get close to an enemy when I could just shoot it from afar, unless it just deals a massive amount of damage and I just don't know. Wild Coil sends out 2 springs on either side of Mega Man, and they bounce around. These springs are pretty small normally, and when you charge them up, they become a lot bigger. The problem is that they do what springs do, bounce around. It's kinda easy for an enemy to simply not get hit by the spring. Scorch Wheel is basically just Junk Shield except with fire properties, and you get it from Turbo Man for some reason, even though I don't remember Turbo Man or his stage using any sort of fire. Danger Wrap releases a bubble that traps enemies, and then the bomb in the bubble explodes and kills the enemy. If you use this, the enemy just takes a long time to die since you gotta wait for the bomb to explode. Thunderbolt is kinda cool as it's got a pretty big hitbox and it can be used to activate the barrels in Junkman stage. But other than that, I've got nothing to say on the weapons. Before I get to the castle stages, I want to talk about this game's soundtrack. It's fine. It's certainly not bad, but there's nothing here that really sticks in my brain. There are some good tracks here though, like But once you're done with the 8 stages, you return back to Light's lab and you'll see it's in shambles. After the intro stage, Base went to Light's lab for repairs, and once the repairs were completed, he stole the parts for a super adapter and destroyed the place. Wily then appears on the TV and reveals that Base and Trouble are his answers to Mega Man and Rush. And now we head to Wily Castle 7. And since Wily is the only villain this time around, instead of having 2 castle stages, well, we've only got 1. Honestly, I'm fine with this stage. The game is difficult enough that having 2 castle stages would probably just bloat the game. I already have a little more than 4 hours worth of footage of this game, and I'd say that's a good length. And these stages are also pretty good. The first stage has a lights out gimmick. When you land on these moving platforms, the lights go out, but the platforms start spinning on parts of the rail. You can't see the rail when the lights go out, so you gotta memorize where they start spinning. Then in the next room, the lights will go whenever you're on the ground, so you gotta keep jumping to see. Then the mid-boss of this stage is Base. He's a pretty easy fight, and once you defeat him, he retreats. The boss of this stage is Gutsman G. Boulders fall from the ceiling, and you gotta dodge the boulders when they fall and when the tank pushes them towards you. Also, something nice to mention is that in between each stage you aren't booted to the castle screen. Instead, you go back to the stage select screen so you can revisit a stage if you need to, and you can visit the shop to restock on items. It's a nice feature. Stage 2 has a fight with Super Base, and this fight is a good one. He jumps and flies all across the screen and you gotta take him down. After you defeat him, he asks himself why he can't defeat you and retreats. The boss of this stage is the Gamerizer. It's a turtle that breathes fire and it'll drop its shell and a bunch of mini turtles will come out. You gotta destroy the 3 mini turtles and then the weak spawn will come back down. Stage 3 introduces bombs like the ones in Burstman stage, but they're rockets. You gotta ride them as long as you can and then jump onto the next one. The vanish blocks also appear here and they're good. It's nothing too difficult or demanding and you might be able to save yourself with the super adapter if you fall. After that, the boss is the Hania Nad Squared. It fires rockets from his mouth, it has a laser from his forehead, and it fires bombs from his shoulders. Its weak spot is its eyes, which are pretty high off the ground. To get up there, you can jump on the rocket as it fires, or you can use Rush Jet. Stage 4 is the boss rush, and I just put on a YouTube video and used the boss's weaknesses. I don't understand why each Mega Man game insists on having a boss rush. It's just a lazy way to make the game a little bit longer right before the final curtain call. But after that, we have Wily Machine 7 and Wily Capsule 4. Wily Machine 7 is a difficult fight, as it doesn't take much damage from its weakness, and it's hard to hit Wily when he's moving fast. He also has spikes underneath him and 2 tiny robots on the floor that deal damage. Wily Capsule 4 is an infamous fight, and for good reason. He can only be damaged by Wild Coil, which again bounces around, so it might not hit Wily. It's also too small to hit him normally, so you have to charge up the weapon. Wily is also too high to be hit by the weapon normally, so you have to hold up on the D-pad while firing so the springs go higher than normal. Wily will only appear for a few seconds before disappearing, so your window to attack is pretty small. He'll also send out 4 tiny spheres to damage Mega Man. The Fire Sphere causes the Mega Man to stop in place and burn, the Ice Sphere causes the Mega Man to stop in place and freeze, and the Electricity Sphere causes Mega Man to simply take damage. If you can't avoid the spears at all, get hit by the Electricity Sphere and use your iframes to avoid the other 3 spheres. And after all that's said and done, you're probably going to need some E-Tanks and W-Tanks. Personally, I used up 3 E-Tanks and 1 W-Tank, so stock up on them. All of this culminates in an exceptionally difficult fight. One wrong move and you might have just gotten rid of your chance of winning. Thankfully, RetroArch's save states and rewind functionality make this fight somewhat easier, and overall, I do like the fight. It reminds me a lot of Eggman Land. It's very difficult, and that's on purpose, but it's not impossible or poorly designed, and it's exceptionally satisfying to complete. And after you defeat Wily, we reach a pretty infamous cutscene. Wily begins to beg for mercy, as he always does, but this is the 7th time he's done this. Mega Man charges up his Buster and prepares to kill Wily, but Wily reminds him that per the laws of robotics, he can't hurt him. Mega Man then declares that he's more than a robot and just wants Wily to die. And if you don't know, this doesn't happen in the original Japanese version. In that version, Mega Man doesn't say anything and doesn't do anything because Wily's right. Robots simply aren't allowed to harm humans, well, normally anyway, so Mega Man does nothing. And also, it's just extremely out of character for Mega Man to say he wants Wily to die. He's a 10-year-old kid, he would never say that. It's like Sonic saying he just really wants Eggman to die. It makes no sense. But after that, the castle begins crumbling apart, and Wily is trapped underneath some rubble. Bass and Treble appear to save Wily, and tells us that if we didn't hesitate to kill Wily, we'd win. He then declares that they'll be back, and they escape. The game ends with Mega Man walking away from the burning castle. So, all in all, Mega Man 7 is a pretty good game. It builds upon the previous 6 Mega Man games and delivers a fantastic experience. The game looks great, the soundtrack is good, the story is much better and more involved than previous games, the levels are fun to play through, and the collectibles are plentiful and give you some great rewards. Honestly, it probably ties with Mega Man 5 and 6 for the title of my favorite classic game. And next up is an interesting video. Of course, it's the video on Mega Man 8, but I've never beaten that game before, so it'll be interesting to see what my opinion on the game will be. So, with all that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.